Unfortunately, God cannot rule man by love, only by fear. Man do not understand love from God. Man reject God love, and they only work in fear. God give man grace. Man feel contented. And the things of God, man, this. And no matter how much love that God show man, man don't care. But once God struck man, man understand himself. Every time God struck a man, him understand himself. Without God struck him. Now he already fear the devil. Because in his head, he said what the devil will do. He don't play with the devil. But man play with God. Mock God. Play with all kind of things. Man, even himself, believe God is not real and he do everything. But he believe in the devil. He goes straight to the wickedness every day. Plot it, scheme it. Don't care. But once God choked that man, whip them, they run to churches everywhere. And asking God, please, and ask for mercy and forgiveness. But when it comes to the things of God, otherwise, they don't care. God have struck that man. God have struck them down. Wherever they are. That's the time when they respect God. Fear. When God put fear upon man, man love God and care for God. Okay. Now, it's the same thing I did to Saul, they turned him into Paul. Once he struck him, he understand himself. And the fear of God get him straight. Like him do after many. Once you get as in encounter with God, and God struck you, even to some of those ministers that you guys may be looking up to that never have an encounter with God, once that man get an encounter with God, everything you hear they say, you cannot get an encounter with God and be the same. No, no man can. Once you have an encounter with God, you cannot be the same. Everything changed. Things you used to do, you can't do them no more. Place you used to go, you can't go there no more. Everything about you change. But unfortunately, that's what it takes. So when God takes his foot off the pedal and decides, say, okay, give man a breather, give man grace, give man love, give man this, man doesn't understand. Man take all of that for granted. And every time he tried to show, man tried to come up against God in every area where God tried to show them love. Until God struck that man will understand himself. Man will go to even a blasphemy against God. That God have to crush that man. So God give him an inch, they take a yard. Give him a yard, they take a mile. Because that's what man understand. Fear, not love. Fear, not love. If your oppressor put fear upon you, you understand that they act in line. Just like the difference between a short sentence and a long sentence. You do a crime, and depending on the sentence. If the sentence is that it's a tough sentence, the man will understand. He fear that. But if you think it's just some baby thing, nah, he don't care much about that. But they hit him with a harsh penalty, then he understand himself. It takes that fear for him to get it. Without that fear, he don't get it. And unfortunately, that's where we are now. God must put the fear and tread upon man again. In this time, you see, God must put the fear and dread up in man again. Now, the way we grow up and see churches, and now we see churches these days, and the way church people and say call themselves and acting and doing that without the fear of God. Now, let's God, like the olden days, open a hole in the same church, drop them in the hole. I promise you, no one else will do it. One time, God bust a hole and dropped them into it, and they perish. And you know what? The rest of the church wouldn't be turking, blurking, doing all kind of foolishness anymore. Because the fear of God come over them. And so they wouldn't do it. But once they don't have fear of God, they continue to play these games. And when God do things, they say, oh, Lord, God is this way. But it have to take God to struck man for man to understand himself. And we're in that position right now. That God needs to struck man again in this synagogue, in this church, and these behaviors. And without it, man will continue believing they rule themselves. Man will continue to believe they are their own God. Man will continue to believe that all power belongs to them. Man will continue to believe that they are king everywhere. Can't tell them nothing. They rule themselves. But I say to you, my Lord, my God, my personal Savior, you have to silence the mouth of the wicked. You have to. You have to show man sign and wonders again up in these churches for man to understand themselves. Man need this kind of olden days behavior. Open a hole, and when they're doing these things, drop them same place there in churches. So they will understand themselves. Put the fear of you upon man again for them to understand themselves. It's getting out of control. Your church is bound to ruin. And yes, you're speaking in the word, and back it will come to the desolation that the children will come back and they'll build up the road, the ruined piece of all of it. But it's gonna come back to that time, God, that you have to do it again. Because man reject the love that you give unto them. And everything that you try to do to man, they don't understand until you have to struck them. Till you have to show your powers to them. That you are still in charge. And I'm speaking to somebody today. God is alive and well. And you continue to mock God. Call yourself man of God. Call yourself doing this and doing that. And one day the wind gonna blow. And you're just gonna fall wherever you are. Thank you to listen. Because God